3D printing news unpeeled, courtesy of 3dprint.com. Today we're going to talk about 3D printed shoes and skate parks. And they're actually very, very similar things, surprisingly. So first off is the news that Zellerfeld, the shoe platform, has converted its mission into being an open shoe platform. And now you can buy reserved slots for them to manufacture your shoes. So Zellerfeld has heretofore been kind of like a very secretive kind of company that's used desktop 3D printers and foaming TPU, like ColorFab, foaming TPU or similar, to make shoes that are kind of space age looking, kind of Jetsonish looking, very colorful, and that caught the minds of a lot of people in the design community. Now, there's a bunch of other people designing these types of shoes worldwide, and they were the only manufacturing solution that said, come to us. And it was that simple, really. They actually ended up working for maybe Louis Vuitton, maybe a couple of other brands, really, really big names, and they became their partner. Now, the sales, of course, weren't really a very, very high volume, but hey, this is an interesting way for a brand to really quickly get in that 3D printing hype, really quickly rely on Zellerfeld's like design and 3D print expertise to make a product out there. And they were working for some of the best names or the most well-known companies in the world. Now, a lot of people would have continued that path. It just seems like a wonderful path. You hang out with the cool kids, and then you get to be their secret magician, their secret like 3D printing shoe magician, right? Zellerfeld wants to go further and now wants to be an open platform. The idea is you can upload your shoe design to them. So rather you could be somebody making that for a small community of only 10 people that are interested. You could be the next biggest shoe talent in Botswana or New Zealand or anything in between, and you can come to Zellerfeld. Now, of course, ultimately, this is the best business. We all know this, right? We all know that if you are the scale-free production partner for any and all shoe designers, then in a particular niche or as a market as a whole, having just a small part of that market, you will be incredibly, incredibly valuable in the long run, right? To be that kind of like that many eyeballs type of play, that, you know, no design risk, no fashion risk, because everyone comes to you because you're the best at what you do. That's, of course, a very kind of investable company. It's a very kind of startup ready kind of company that can scale and grow very, very bigly. Grow to be a very, very large company. But is it the right thing to do right now? Because like Zellerfeld had that exclusive access, it had that kind of like path to working with these exclusive names, so it could have gotten focused more on the hits and gotten to volume that way, rather than opening itself very broadly at this time. We'll never really know the answer. I think it's a really interesting thing to consider. What would you have done? All right, would you continue to do it? Like we must remember, like everyone's always saying, like, you know, the logical response is, oh, it's like YouTube for shoes. And of course, we all love that idea. We all love that idea of like enabling all these creators and letting these people work with you and democratizing shoe manufacturing. But we mustn't forget that you can go right now to a local leather goods specialist, a local shoemaker, and you could make your own shoe brands as well with a series of 1 or 10. That's totally doable. So in what sense does this actually democratize it? Because what they're doing is democratizing plastic shoes rather than democratizing just shoemaking. Because you can make handmade leather shoes today if you want to. Just, you know, go to a local shoemaker, make a series of 5. It's absolutely no problem. So, you know, is this the right response? And we mustn't also forget that YouTube became popular because of certain hit American TV programs were on the platform. And Saturday Night Live and other kind of shows were on the platform, available there illegally at the time. But that led to a lot of people finding the YouTube platform, and that later on led to all these people being able to make content on it and all that kind of stuff. So the timing is very, very important there. So I don't know. You know, the shoe 3D printing game is Zellerfeld's to lose. It has the biggest brand. It's got a lot of inertia behind it. It has a lot of connections. It seems to be quite successful, and I think it would be attracting investment at this point as well. So it's their game to lose, and yeah, it's one of these things where you don't know. It seems logical to be the YouTube of shoe manufacturing, but at the same time, you could become the Etsy of shoe manufacturing, where you've got a platform that wants to be more commercial, it has to be more commercial, in fact, and you've got a community of artisans that don't want to move into that commercial sense. And then you've got a bunch of other people that are basically betraying the original Etsy community by manufacturing things and buying things from China and relabeling them, and they're doing a lot of sales for you. So you get these kind of platform dilemmas where you're betraying your unique, your original users, you're kind of taxing them more heavily for the work they do in the platform, the sales they generate, and then you're kind of selling out to all these other external interests. And that kind of like those agency dilemmas between the platform and the creatives, you know, they're quite difficult to overcome. So of course, YouTube is very successful. I would like to be the YouTube of anything else, just apples. I don't know, but the YouTube of apples. But it doesn't mean that that model will make sense and that model works for you or for that market at that given moment. So I thought it was an interesting thing to do. I'm not sure if I think I would have waited for a little bit more hits, a little bit more credibility, a little bit more sales, a little bit more actual revenue, and a little bit more real life shoe performance. Because that's the problem with these TPU 3D printed shoes. We have them in the house here. We've made a bunch of them here. And you know what? They could be semi-comfortable, but they're not going to be very comfortable to wear for a long time if they're enclosed type shoes. Like a type of slide, the slipper thing is really nice, but the actual shoe models aren't exactly, they're very sweaty and kind of like squeaky, like if you wear them all the time. So I think the engineering portion of this isn't very worked out very well. So yeah, to join the YouTube and be one of the first creators on YouTube can be really advantageous. But on the other hand, you don't want to join the YouTube and do their R&D for them. So, is this the right time? I thought this was a really interesting strategic discussion. This is a huge opportunity. I know a lot of people see 3D printed shoes are talking about this with a friend as kind of like a gimmick, a side thing. No. This is really happening. The only thing is, for what shoe category will it actually work, and for what shoe category will it be a lasting part of the business? And I think it's going to be for slides and slippers and things, and not per se for regular shoes. And I think it's going to work for insoles and certain orthopedic things, and not per se for all regular shoes. But it is definitely 100% happening. So now what you could do if you want to be a part of this is reserve a slot for $10. Now, I'm thinking about doing this, actually. I'm not entirely sure if I should, because it doesn't tell me when I get the slot and for how many shoes I get the slot. And I don't see how they can calculate this if I want to produce 1,000 shoes or 10 shoes or something, how they do this. So I'm not exactly sure where I want to do this, but I'm very, very intrigued at this, and I would like to know if you guys are intrigued as well, or this is just kind of like a 3D printing nerdy kind of thing to be wondering about. Now, the next thing is skate parks. This is a very, very similar thing, actually. Saint-Gobain has 3D printed a skate park in Paris, actually it's 3D printed the skate park in the Netherlands with the Saint-Gobain BMX company in the Netherlands is a subsidiary that already has printed some houses and prints like slope stairs and other kind of things. What they do is they mass customize things. So if you have a train station and you need certain slope stairs to go down to the level of the trains, whatever, then you can go there to the Saint-Gobain website. Saint-Gobain, by the way, one of the largest materials companies in the world. You can go to their website, specify the distances of this element, and then they will automatically design and then print at their location out of concrete or other materials these stairs, and it'll be shipped to you and installed. So it's not a gantry printer that'll be installed on site like a Kobold, right? It's not a robot arm printer that'll go to the site, right? It's a manufacturing location where they control more of the variables. So this is a more controlled environment, easier to get, the right quality to test things, but of course you're limited in size. And the way I think this is going to evolve is the Kobold type printers for the really large locations where you're doing serially a lot of stuff. So 100 houses in one go. The robot arm printers for smaller locations where you can't fit in the Kobold or it doesn't really economically make sense. And then the Kobold plus the gantry plus the robot arm working together on the same project. And meanwhile, similar size printers at factory locations for things that are shippable over road in areas where that makes sense. That's how I think this is going to happen. We don't exactly know this, but it's a nice little thing to speculate out. Now, what they've done now is something really wonderful. What they've done is, in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, they've 3D printed a bunch of elements for a skate park. They made a 400 square meter large skate park. And it's going to be shown at the Esplanade in Paris, La Défense, from July 18th to mid-August. And during the Olympic Games, all the time, you can skate on the skate park. That's, of course, a wonderful thing because this factory printing in the houses, these kind of on-demand, faster creation of precast or precast-like elements is something we don't talk about enough, right? Precast, usually you have to make the formwork, you cast the thing, you wait a couple of days. So making this stuff faster, mass customizing it, and shipping it might actually be a really, really big cost advantage for things like skate parks. And I like this very much. It's only a temporary thing. They got a skateboarding star called Vincent Matheron to talk to them about what kind of slopes and what kind of tricks they wanted on that. There's Luc Abelot, who's an Olympian himself, but also a mural painter who made it all really nice. And this kind of temporary structure is going to be installed and then used for a couple of weeks. Now, I think the skate park thing could be a much bigger business, actually. It's kind of niche, but we see already that 3D printed pump tracks, like in polymer, are being made as well. So actually, this could be a bigger business, but I'm more interested in the idea of this temporary infrastructure. So imagine your vans, for example, and you want to get more kids to skate or more kids to rollerblade or whatever, right? You can take a big skate park and install it at 4 different locations across Germany. And in the summer, it's in Berlin, and then it moves to Stuttgart, etc. That could be very interesting. Now, on top of this, imagine you're a community somewhere, a local government, and you know you're going to take down a big factory on the side of your village or whatever. You know that factory is going to be empty, or half of that site is going to be empty for 4 years, right, or 16 months, or whatever time period. But it's going to be a big eyesore. What you can do is put a temporary skate park or another type of infrastructure, a temporary kind of park in that environment, and then remove it when the time comes to finish the building. Now, that kind of stuff, to me, this temporary migratory infrastructure, if you will, could be very, very interesting. So imagine you take toilet blocks and all the infrastructure around it, toilet blocks and showers, and in the winter you put them in a ski resort and then you move it south for the summer. That kind of stuff, I think, is really conceptually interesting. And this is, again, the scale-free production partner, where Gobain could be the production partner that can help you as an architect or you as a local government to scale up your dreams into making these concrete things, or scale up your concrete dreams, if you will, or make them concrete. Anyway, so my name is Joris Peels. This was 3D Printing News Unpeeled, and I hope you found this very useful.